We have a perception problem. Basically, how do I say it in a nice way? Um, the industry is kind of that dirty industry. It's a low paying job. And really, I don't think that's the case.
Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
Hey there, it's Jason Stahl, and we're on a collision course today with Connor Janning, who is a welding instructor for iCar. Welcome, Connor.
Welcome, Jason. Thanks for having me, man.
You're welcome. And today we're going to talk about one of the strongest headwinds facing the collision industry, the tech shortage. And as I understand it, you're on the road a lot, and you get out to a lot of shops, and you're on the front lines of what's going on out there. And so I want to talk to you about the tech shortage and your thoughts about it. And I'm going to hit you with something, maybe a little curveball here for the first question, or maybe it's more of a statement, and you can respond. The collision industry doesn't have a tech shortage problem. We have a tech pay problem. What are your thoughts?
So, something like that, where we look at technician pay, I think the biggest thing is going to be, it's a little bit more than just, an average, hourly rate or, a set amount of hours. Basically, what we're looking at is we have a perception problem. Basically, how do I say it in a nice way? The industry is kind of that dirty industry. It's a low paying job. And really, I don't think that's the case. There's a lot more shops, even in my area, that they're starting to be air conditioned, white floors, with the ADAS stuff, we kind of have a lot cleaner facilities now. And then, there's always those outliers, but really, this is one of those careers where you can get into it with a 2-year degree or no degree for that matter. And then you have the earning potential of over 6 figures. So I don't think I believe the tech pay problem, just to not acknowledge it would be, inconsiderate to most techs, because I believe that it's very driven by your local market. But I truly think that a lot of that is going to be, it's more the disinformation that you kind of don't get the full picture of.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and so you talked a little bit about the perception that young people have of the collision industry, and that was kind of leads into my next question. What is the perception? And I know the tide is turning a little bit. It feels like the skilled trades are getting a lot of positive media attention lately. And obviously the skilled trades covers a lot of different jobs. So talk to me about what you're hearing from young people as far as where do they rank collision repair, say next to mechanical repair, next to truck repair, or other skilled trades?
I think that's the biggest thing. So I'm on an advisory committee with our local college. So we do get to see and reach out to those, the guidance counselors and everything with high school. A lot of times what happens with our industry is you just get pushed into the automotive field. What do you like to do? I like to work on cars. Okay, perfect. Here's your options. And they kind of lay it all out. And it's just kind of kids, they don't understand it. I think that's going to be the biggest area of opportunity, is just knowing what the field entails. Because it's not, when I first got into it, I was the same way. I grew up in high school, I worked in a restoration shop. So I thought, straightening sheet metal, sanding, filler and painting was body work. And now after being in a dealership setting for the past, 10 years before I switched full time with iCar, I learned that that's not the case. There's so many different opportunities. So you can go down the EV, you can go down the ADAS. There's even just understanding if you don't want to be it, you can be in the collision industry without being a tech. We have estimator and front office positions and everything like that too. So I think that's going to be a big key, is just getting that information out there.
Let's go back to the media spotlight on the skilled trades right now. And yeah, we know about Mike Rowe, and we know about Matt Ebert, the CEO of Crash Champions, who's been running around and talking the good talk about collision repair. Why is this happening now? We've been talking for years. We've been probably, it seems like, the deaf ears to parents and young kids that, hey, you don't have to go $100,000 in debt and pursue a 4-year undergraduate degree. But it seems like now the tide is turning a little bit. Maybe we've reached a tipping point. What do you attribute this media onslaught, positive press about the skilled trades, and perhaps finally the young kids' eyes opening to these opportunities?
I think the kids nowadays, they understand technology probably more than most of the older techs. So they see AI too as like automation. Like, okay, a lot of these jobs that you're seeing nowadays, especially if you had like a typical 4-year job, my wife's in a more of a setting where that's the case, and they're looking at, how can we use AI to strengthen our workforce? And not only that, but sometimes unfortunately, it eliminates the workforce. With collision, I mean, I hope that AI makes some things easier, man. If AI could, sand filler for me, I would have loved it. Back then I hated, dealing with that stuff, getting dry and, everything like that. But I think a lot of, kids nowadays see that and they look at it as this is resistant to AI. This is a way that I can make a really good salary, not be worried about the future of my career at this time.
Yeah, that's a great point, is that AI can't replace these jobs, right? So
Yeah.
I know one of the talking points you have with young kids is, hey, collision is more high tech than you think. You don't have to get dirty. You don't have to be sand panels. You don't have to paint if you don't want to. I'm sure there's some young kids who are car people, right? They're gearheads, and they may want to get their hands dirty and fix a car. But to your point, there's the ADAS component now, which is oftentimes done in a very clean, sterile environment, high-tech environment. So what are you telling them as far as, hey, a collision is more high-tech?
So I look at going back to that ADAS thing. I try to hit them on, this is something where we're going to have more job opportunities in the future than even what we have now. We talk about, the tech shortage and everything. I don't know if it's so much a tech shortage as it's a skills gap. We look at ADAS, and even some of them where, I don't know if you've seen like in some of the press where they talk about like the calibrations kind of drift over time. And I think we're going to start seeing that. The higher level of ADAS we find ourselves getting into, the more we're going to need more skills and more advanced techs to bring those kind of back in. I do believe in the very near future, we're going to see shops open up that all they do is specialize in just verifying your ADAS is working correctly, recalibrating it, even if you weren't in a collision. So you could start in the collision field, and it's kind of that one of those, kind of tentacles of the octopus of collision. We wrap each other in the middle, but it's one of those kind of fingers that kind of stick out there where that's another opportunity. So maybe you get into it and this isn't for me, but I still want to stay in the industry type thing.
Yeah, and so we talk about the positive press that the skilled trades are getting. Have you seen a substantive improvement out there that kids are joining the collision repair trade? I mean, from releasing the pressure on a shop. We know that for a while there, shops had more work than they knew what to do with, and one of the reasons was because they couldn't process it fast enough because they didn't have enough technicians. So, are you seeing an uptick out there and a little bit of a relief for the shops to have the labor they need to do the work they have?
Yeah, I think we're starting to get caught up. I know in my area we had a couple hailstorms go through, and they were nasty hailstorms, so we were backed up a couple of years at that point. And that was pretty much every shop. And now you're starting to see the opposite come through, where there's less claim volume, there's less filing, and not to mention most people, they're a little bit tight right now. It always seems to be that way after the holidays in our area. We haven't really had a bad winter, not considering most things. So the volume's down. So some shops are getting a relief. But when you look at, different studies, I think Crash Network did a study where they were asking shop owners, are you hiring? And the answer that kind of I push on my younger techs, and especially some of like the mid-range techs or somebody that's, still got a lot of years in the industry. Every shop owner that I've ever talked to says, I'm not actively looking for a tech, but if a qualified one came in, I'm going to take him. If somebody that was highly qualified had, a lot of background, a lot of training completed, I'm not going to say no. And I think that's a rhythm I get behind with every shop is, sure, you might not be looking for the guy, but we're also not going to let that golden unicorn, slip out the door just because we say, no, we're not hiring. No, everybody's always hiring. Just, we got to hire the right guy.
Yeah. And talk to me about iCar's role in this whole situation, right? iCar isn't just a trading organization. You guys are fully vested in the industry to solve a lot of the problems that we have, or at least help solve them. Talk to me about iCar's role in addressing the tech shortage.
Yeah. So with I mean, iCar truly at the foundation is a training. So what we do with tech shortage is we have everything from like collision careers. We have our academy program that even the community college I'm on the advisory committee for, they participate in getting the message out there, reaching out to high schools. Really, what we try to do is, I mean, it's like anything. We want to be sure our message is sent out there, and I think we do have one of the better messages because we are simply just a training organization, a not-for-profit. Trying to make sure everybody has the correct skills. If we can get our, message across right away, I feel like that can kind of start the contact with students that may not have known about collision or just, never really had an interest. At least get that message in a positive manner right off the bat.
In your opinion, what can shops do on an individual basis to uplift the entire industry and help each other out with the tech shortage? What specifically can a shop do starting tomorrow?
Well, I think there's a lot of opportunity for, getting somebody in the shop and just, I mean, even just doing walkarounds. Like when I was in high school, we didn't really, I mean, sure, we went to the doctor's office and they show you, here's the MRI machine. I remember seeing that. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. And then, we do like those, those day trips and everything. And then we also have where students have in my class, it was like you had for a week. You had to go out there and for a week you had to job shadow. So you were with somebody Monday through Friday for the entire week, and you didn't go to school, you did job shadowing. And they always had like a list of people that were interested in having job shadows, and it was banks and, doctor's office, insurance agents, everything like that. But I never really saw collision. So I feel like from a shop level, get out there, and especially there's a lot of independence. You're a little bit more situated, your market, you don't have a lot broader. So you can go into those high schools, you can make those connections. And even the MSOs, they can make connections with colleges. Get out there, offer up, hey, if they want a job shadow for a week, bring them in, we'll get them taken care of.
Yeah, and so Connor, we're going to end with a little fun game, if you will. I'm going to say a word or a term, and I want you to give me a one-word reply. First thing that comes to your head, okay?
Yep.
You ready? Okay. Tech shortage.
Skills gap. I think it's the skills gap.
Skilled trades.
I would say for skilled trades, I think collision repair is probably the best.
iCar.
Training.
College.
I want to say optional, just because it's not a requirement. It's not the requirement anymore.
U.S. government.
I think they could help out a little more with allowing colleges to have the rules on how you show technician pay for the placement in the industry.
Yeah, I think you're right. I've seen a lot of stuff from ASA recently. It seems like the government right now and the leadership installed in the government are taking a close look at the skilled trades and trying to encourage the youth that this could be the future.
I know with us when we have the handouts, it shows like placement rates and average salary, and there's regulations and bylaws. You have to abide by that. But I wish we could have done like our market study, because it's completely different. I mean, what they're saying is the salary range and the placement. And I'm like, man, if we can do our own market study just in the state of Iowa, kids are going to be signing up for this class. You're not going to know what to do. So,
okay, a couple more. ADAS.
Yeah, always evolving and never the same.
Electric vehicles.
I would say that they're the future. From a guy that has 2 plus a 1-ton truck too. So I'm on both ends. I've got a full battery and a 1-tonner. So.
Oh, you have 2 EVs?
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. I'm still an ICE guy.
I've got a full EV. I've got a plug-in hybrid that I love. And then I've got my gas 1-ton truck that is more of the farm stuff. So I'm on both ends of the spectrum. And you figure out how to make a plug-in EV that can haul farm trailers, and I'm probably going to look really hard into it.
Do you ever use your personal vehicles, in your lessons? I don't know if you teach EV classes, but
typically not. My EVs aren't so like with what we teach in EV is not brand specific. iCar, we have industry partners, so we try to teach the overall skills. So when you go to like our CTC, we have Chevys, Fords, JLR, Volvo. I mean, we have a ton of brands, right? And I don't want to leave anybody out in that matter. But we try to teach everything. So it's just to tie it to one brand isn't,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't provide the best training. It is if that's what you want, but really we try to teach the basics of EV.
Great, Connor. Well, I really appreciate you being on the podcast today. I think we're making some headway here. It's very encouraging. I know myself, having been in the collision industry for 20 years now, I've been pounding the drum about what a great career this is. I even told my own son this when he was looking to decide. So I think it's so encouraging to see the positive press we're getting. And it's so encouraging to see what iCar's doing. I mean, you guys have really, really, really done a great job lately of everything that you do, whether it's training or promoting collision as a career, collisioncareers.com, for example. Just wonderful work. And I couldn't thank you enough. So I appreciate you being on today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's going to take everybody. It's not a do it alone thing. It's not you or me or anybody. We all got to be in this together to solve this issue. So I appreciate you having us on,
Absolutely.
dude.
Well spoken. We're all in this together. Thank you so much, Connor.
Yep. Thanks again.
I'm Jason Stahl. Thanks for watching.